So yeah. So as we were discussing, the focal theme of today's webinar is hustling identities. So as compared to boys, about 52% girls graduate every year in schools. And whilst that number is great, only 38% of women contribute to the Indian economy, unaccounted for income. Similarly, when there is a lot of talk about why do we need women representation, representation should be on merit. 42% women have reported to have succumbed to workplace gender bias and have been forced unwillingly to leave their jobs. Similarly, now is the time when we talk about how a sperm and an egg make a child, and therefore child caring duties are gender neutral. But 72% of working women have reported that even though they bring the bread on the table, they are still the primary caregivers of the family. And the plight of the Indian unmarried single woman, the permutations combination to that as to why she is unmarried, even if she is successful, there has to be other handicaps attached to it, are one too many. So while women traverse towards all these and amongst these identities, there are still women who know that they will never have it easy. As any feminist movement that we have seen across the globe, it was never served to the women on a silver platter. They have to work twice as hard. And women somehow have taken it to the stride. We will have to work twice as hard. We will have to work in extra mile. Amongst us, we have today 4 such women who do not succumb to the role identities that they have, with choice or without choice of the society, and are niching their own she. I would like to welcome the panel on board. We have Chandni Chopra, Ishita Farsaiya, Dr. Priya Serene, and Samina Ali. I would request the panel to kindly introduce themselves. Chandni, can we start with you, please?
Hi, I'm Chandni Chopra. I've been married for over 6 years now, and I am in Agra. I'm from Agra. I've been married here. I've done my majors in creative writing from the University of Delhi. I hold a master's in mass communication. I'm a writer at heart. I'm also a certified nutritionist, and I love to travel. I love to read. I love to write. But all that somewhere takes a back seat because you have to juggle through different identities, and you have to make yourself and make your way work through different identities that you have to fulfill. But I think I'm finally getting there. I'm finding my balance, and I'm trying to do the best I can to fulfill my need of fueling my passion above everything else.
Thank you so much, Chandni. Ishita, can we move to you, please?
Hi, I'm Ishita. I am, other than my personal roles as a daughter, as a friend, as a sister, I'm mostly known to the outside world as a tax lawyer. I have worked my way through a very tough law school. I've done my master's, and right now I'm pursuing tax litigation. And mostly I'm the only woman in a tax court or in the boardroom when tax matters are being discussed. So throughout the years, like, I have been working in a profession which is male dominated, and the area where I focus on, it's 95% of the people in power or seniors, everyone, they're all men. So I'm just carving out my niche, but at the same time, I don't let anybody forget that I'm a lady and I behave like one. I believe that I don't have to work like a man or act like a man to, make my mark in the so-called man's world.
Thank you so much, Ishita. I would request the others, the attendees, to kindly mute themselves. There will be enough scope at the last session of the panel where they can have a direct communication with the panel. Thank you so much. Dr. Priya, can we move to you, please? Priya, you're on mute.
Hello?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi. Now can you hear me, Pallavi? Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Priya Serene. I'm gynecologist and a laparoscopic surgeon by profession. And I have a daughter, 1.5-year-old daughter. And the big thing about me is I have strived to become a doctor because I've jumped from a non-medical Punjabi, typical Orthodox Punjabi family. You need to get married by 22, 23. And then from there, I jumped to another non-medical family who are privileged enough that uh, they don't depend on their daughter-in-law to work. So this has been very fun and a roller coaster ride for me. Rest, that's it, I
Yeah,
guess.
we definitely hear more stories from you, Priya. Thank you so much. Samina, can we move to you, please?
Yeah, hi, my name is Samina, and yes, my gender, human being, my status, currently very happy. My family, me and my better half, my 3-year-old girl. And yes, I've broken all stereotypes, having come from a very orthodox Muslim family. And I've got 15 years of experience in learning and development and HR. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much. As you must have seen that it's a very diverse yet a very complementary panel. We have a single, successful, well-established woman. We have a married woman who is, despite being married into a privileged family, is finding her own in every area, in every spectrum that is thrown to her. Then we have a married mother who is fulfilling her duties of being a doctor, a very challenging career choice, and still making sure that she is a role model for her daughter. And then we have Samina as a single mom, making sure that she finds her own in this big bad world where women are stereotyped. So thank you so much, panel, for introducing yourself. Now, while we make this big talk about women identities, how has your journey been so far? How were you boxed and you muscled your courage between moving from one box to the other? How were you hustling identities? They say that lawyer always has the last word, but I think we'll start the panel with the lawyer to have the first word this time.
Okay, so journey so far has had its ups and downs. So while I was in school, we were told, and I went to an all-girls school, so we were told, oh God, the world is yours to conquer and you will get whatever you want. But slowly that belief of mine that the world is mine to conquer kept on getting, eaten away, and those chips kept on falling. In law school, once I started working as a lawyer, I worked as a research assistant to Supreme Court judge, and I did realize that there are certain roadblocks which we have to overcome. So some fights are worth picking up, some fights are not. And there are many times where I've actually sat down and questioned myself, okay, what am I doing? Who am I? But at the end, what I realized is you have to conform to your standards. You have to conform to your belief. And only if you keep on doing that, you would just be a happier person. So any woman, be it a woman who's getting married and who decides to stay at home like Chandni or my mother, they have their own set of challenges. Being a woman like me who's stepping out to work by herself, and I've never taken my father's support on this. He's a CA, but I've never tried to take his support. With a girl like me, we all have our own set of struggles. So just be prepared, girls, everybody.
Thank you, Ishita. Samina, can we move to you, please?
Yes, as an independent, educated, cosmopolitan woman, I grew up to believe that, men and women are both equal. So I had my vision board done with my goals and dreams, a successful career. And, I had my set of friends, my family, places I wanted to travel to, my favorite bags, my brands, my shoes, and, most important of all, love. So finding a partner to share these goals, dreams, and build my own small family with. So when I was 35, I finally met the man I fell in love with, and he asked me to marry him. So I gave up my career, left my safe world, and then I moved across continents. So I moved to Australia, and I said yes to what I thought was going to be my happily ever after. Now reality turned out to be totally different journey. Instead it was beginning of 4 years of like domestic harassment and mental torture, which filled me with tears. I had a broken heart, and I kept feeling total worthlessness. And after really trying my hardest to make it work for my daughter's sake, there actually came a moment when I actually broke down and realized that something drastically had to change. And like I had to change. So I had to change to make sure that my little girl and the little girl inside me knew that this wasn't okay. So I decided to move on, to move ahead, and I left with nothing. When I left Australia, I literally left with nothing. I just packed up my suitcase, just one suitcase, picked up my girl. But then that was just the start of my difficult journey. And after having come back home, And there were days when I would think, you know, how will I take care of my girl? You know, how will I manage finances? How will I pay for her school? You know, will I be able to find a job? And, you know, how will I face family, friends, people at work? How will I survive? You know, so the survival was the most difficult question that kept, you know, doing a rampage in my head. And that's when, you know, I got strength from another amazing woman in my life, my mom. And when I was crying and telling her, Mom, you know what, I have nothing and I need help and I'm literally drowning. And that's when she told me, take one step at a time, one day at a time. And you know what, you will get up and run because you've done that in past. So trust me, you know, it does sound simple, you know, but those words I needed to, you know, be reminded that I can still change my life, you know, just take one moment at a time and build the momentum and move on to the next chapter, you know, that I will write. So, you know, for my daughter, I did the same. I made sure she was surrounded by positive, you know, people who influenced positively on her. And most importantly, felt loved, adored, and cared for and respected. So 2 years after taking that impossible decision, you know, to break away from the shackles of a very unhappy, you know, relationship, a toxic relationship, you know, that cost me my existence. So I've withstood the, you know, like the judgment, you know, the stigma of being almost divided. You know, I was even called selfish, cowardly. Honestly, I was also called cowardly because I decided to move away from it. So the Samina, you know, that you see today is completely different. I took the blows, the punches life and society hurled at me because I came from a very orthodox Muslim family, and it made my strength to get back on my feet. Today, I do work, what I love. I spend quality time with my daughter. She is 3.5 years old, but I'm teaching her the value of money, family, happiness, and self. I'm teaching her that, you know what, baby, this isn't a man's world. It's our world, and it'll be what you make of it. So that's how my journey's been so far.
Thank you so much, Samina. And you know what they say, it's only the persecutions that make us stronger. And without persecutions, we will actually never land anywhere. Dr. Priya, can we move to you, please?
Yes. My journey started. I'm from a non-medico. So मतलब मेरे घर में आगे पीछे दाएं बाएं कोई डॉक्टर नहीं है और सब इट्स अ पंजाबी फैमिली जिसमें सब लोग खूब एंजॉय करते हैं. दे लव फूड, दे लव पार्टीज. सी सबसे पहले तो उनके लिए बहुत बड़ी चीज थी कि बेचारी लड़की 10-10 घंटे पढ़ती रहती है. आई वाज जस्ट फॉन्ड ऑफ स्टडीइंग, सो आई लाइक टू स्टडी. ऐसा नहीं है, माय पेरेंट्स यूज्ड टू लाइक इट. सो then there came a point जब मेरे when I wanted to do biotech. मतलब I just want to tell कि हम life इतनी unpredictable होती है. I wanted to do biotech, and suddenly I lost my father when due to heart attack, which was due to lack of a heart surgeon in Agra. So I thought कि यार आगरा में heart surgeon, एक doctor की absence से मेरे father की death होगी. Now I need to be a doctor. I changed my career. I changed my mind strategy कि अब biotech गई, and now I have to be a doctor. So since I lost my father, we were the two. My sibling is a sister. I have an elder sister, and उसकी marriage already decided थी. So as usual, society के लिए हम एक pity वाला stuff थे कि दो बहनें, उसमें से एक की शादी हो रही है, अब माँ का क्या होगा, और माँ अब गई. मतलब I had to fight the society कि नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, I will take care of my mother. Then कैसे तैसे करके, and luckily in my school days I met the love of my life, my husband. And फिर उसके बाद जैसे तैसे, मतलब I know मेरी मम्मा मुझे कैसे कैसे एग्जाम्स दिलवाने ले जाती थी अकेले, क्योंकि उनको पता था मेरी लड़की पढ़ रही है. मतलब जो मेरे फादर को रोल करना था वो मेरी मम्मा ने किया. I cleared the exams. फिर ये हुआ कि अरे अभी तो MBBS है, 25 साल की लड़कियों की शादी कराओ. शादी क्यों नहीं हो रही है? I think there is some error in the girl. शादी नहीं हो रही है. It was my strong mom who took a stand कि मेरी लड़की जब तक बोलेगी नहीं, I will not marry her. So she made it a point I cleared my MBBS and जैसे भी, and then came a point of my marriage, जिसमें फिर एक प्रॉब्लम आती है कि डॉक्टर है तो डॉक्टर से तो शादी करनी ही पड़ेगी, नहीं तो इसका करियर खत्म हो जाता है, नहीं तो इसके साथ क्या हो जाएगा. Then I had to convince the society that I'm going to marry a non-medical guy. Finally, ये सब सोसाइटी एक जिसके घर हमारी शादी का कार्ड जाता था एंड एवरीवन वाज लाइक लड़का डॉक्टर नहीं है, मतलब इट वाज सच अ बिग थिंग कि लड़का डॉक्टर नहीं है, कि क्या कर दिया आपने लड़की डॉक्टर बना के और ये आपकी उसकी लाइफ खराब कर दी है. देन आई मूव टू अ प्रिविलेज फैमिली जिनके पास एक बेटा है, अच्छी खासी फैमिली है. दे डोंट वांट देयर डॉटर इन लॉ टू वर्क. तो स्टार्टिंग में दे वांटेड मी टू हेल्प इन द हाउस होल्ड, ऑब्वियसली थोड़ा बहुत पार्टीज जाना, ये करना ये वो करना. I used to go, but I didn't enjoy it because my hobby is working. I like to operate, I like to work, I like to study. कैसे तैसे खींच के मैंने I made them realize कि ठीक है आपको पैसे नहीं चाहिए, मुझे काम करना है, मैं 10 साल पढ़ी हूँ. Then I had a daughter. Daughter के बाद I wanted to go further to study, but बच्चा कौन देखेगा, ऐसे कैसे छोड़ के जा सकते हो बच्चा. So I don't know, मेरी तो identity hustle ही हो रही है अभी तक. So just trying to be just trying to be a good mother, not a perfect mother, good wife, good daughter, because I have to take care of my mom also, good daughter-in-law. I don't know what I'm trying to do. Just,
Thank you so
just,
much. Yeah, and it is so important for us to, as individuals, to realize that it just sounds very fascinating when we use the word ambition, specifically for women. It just sounds really cool that, you know, we are very ambitious. But ambition has a cost, which many don't realize. Consistency and perseverance are the epitome of being ambitious, and it never comes easy. It never comes easy. So thank you for sharing your story, Priya. Chandni, we move to you, please.
Well, it's been so inspiring listening to all of you. I've never shied away from accepting the fact that I do come from a place of extreme privilege, and I'm grateful about the same. But having said that, my struggles have been more internal, and because of which I think sometimes they get slaughtered as self-inflicted, which is not the case. So I've been somebody who's been extremely outspoken, who's on the verge of being called rebellious. And from that, I moved to becoming completely submissive, almost having no voice in any matters. And now finally, it's safe to say that I've reached a space where I've found middle grounds and I've found my voice, but in a way that doesn't probably perturb people around me. I've also so far realized the importance of peaceful coexistence. You have to hold on to your own, but it's not imperative that you harp it out loud all the time. Uh, Having said that, I am still trying to make it on my own. A lot of times I've been questioned about why I need to be ambitious, because I don't need to put bread to table, and so I don't really have a need for ambition as such. But my need for ambition goes beyond just providing for the family or providing for anything else. I have other roles to play apart from being a daughter-in-law, a wife, a friend, a daughter even. I have a role to play, and which is of being true to myself. So as a person who's passionate, as a person who's creatively inclined, I do have a passion I want to feed on, and I do want to leave a legacy for my own self, if for nobody else. So one that I can be proud of, that yes, my time here was worthwhile. I've made something of it. I've not just existed, but I've lived and made something of it. And more often than not, that's my area of concern. Also for me, for the longest time, identity crisis was a major issue. There's an article by Betty Friedman, in fact, that talks about identity crisis in depth. And she says that majority of married women suffer from identity crisis, and that's the underlying condition for depression in most cases. Because what happens is overnight you transition from a single woman to a married woman, wherein no such transition happens for a man. The day you're married, you wake up in the morning, you're expected to look like a bride. I don't understand what is looking like a bride really means, wherein your husband can still wake up, wear his old denims, his shirt, his t-shirt, whatever, and carry on with his day as nothing has changed. But you are supposed to look a certain way. Your dressing sensibilities are supposed to change. You're supposed to imbibe new religious views. You're supposed to behave a specific way in society. So overnight, you're expected to basically give up on all the notions you've lived with for 25 or 30 years, and you're supposed to imbibe on a new life. Wherein for the man, it's easier in most cases, and by a large margin, it's pretty much easy. So I think my struggle has always been more about the gender bias that lies in various identities, whether as a son or as whatever. And yeah, the fact that still the onus of shifting places lies on the woman. It's the woman who has to leave her house in most cases, and not the man. That still appalls me and surprises me to a great degree. The fact that most women are expected to drop their last name surprises me. thankfully it's changing, but it's still prevalent. So my struggles and dilemmas have been more of that, because I'm a person of reason. You give me a reason to do something, I'll do it with my heart. But if you want me to do something in the name of tradition that lacks reason, I have a problem doing it. I may still do it, but I have a problem doing it. So my struggle has been that so far. And I think for the longest time, what happens is when you're married young, you do kind of lose your voice because you don't want to hurt the people around you. But with time and with wisdom, you realize that you need to prioritize everything and everybody in your life. And you don't have to forget to prioritize yourself while you do so. So I think now finally I've realized that, and I'm trying to prioritize myself as well as trying to master the art of putting across my point in a way that doesn't hurt anybody's sensibilities as well. So I'm still kind of maneuvering through that. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Chandni. And they say that the privilege, the burden of the privilege specifically is a lot on people who come from a privilege. I'm not just talking about economic privilege, but caste privilege, majority religion privilege. This is not always going to be there, but either we're supposed to take the burden of it or we take the responsibility. That fine enough, we come with a privilege. But I am going to channelize that privilege in a very responsible way so that I can trailblaze that way for the others. And I'm sure, Chandni, you're trailblazing the way for many to follow suit. Thank you for sharing your journey. And now that everybody has shared their journey, I'm sure it wasn't easy. So while you were traversing on your paths, how did the society, the people, the parents, the siblings, the partners around you behave and resonate with you with this journey? Were there solidarity handshakes or were there eyebrows raised? Dr. Priya, can we start with you, please?
See, I have realized handshakes are from the family. Baki puri society is to raise the eyebrows. This is my journey. Matlab, I have realized your sibling, your mother, your father are your true friends, the bestest friends, and उसके अलावा कोई नहीं होता. जैसे कि सबसे बड़ी बात थी, जैसे I wanted to be a heart surgeon, but society didn't allow me. मतलब मुझ पे इतना प्रेशर क्रिएट कर दिया गया कि हार्ट सर्जन है, लड़कियां हार्ट सर्जन नहीं होती हैं, लड़कियां ये नहीं कर सकती हैं, 12 घंटे की जर्नी होगी, 12 घंटे की सर्जरी होगी, अगर 12 घंटे की सर्जरी होगी यू कुडंट टेक केयर ऑफ योर हाउस, तो तुम्हारा तो डाइवोर्स हो जाएगा, बच्चे बिल्कुल वो मिसमैनेज हो जाएंगे, तो यू हैव टू चेंज द ब्रांच. सिंस माय मदर का भी इसमें रोल था, so I chose to be a gynecologist, which I regret कि ये नहीं होना चाहिए था. So कहीं ना कहीं society raises eyebrows. जैसे कि सबसे simple example, जैसे now I'm a mother of a 1.5-year-old. Since I have to go to a job, so मेरे को I just want कि मैं अपने बच्चे को इतना हैंडी रखूं कि दूसरे को हैंड ओवर करूं तो वो पीछे रू ना करे या कुछ भी उसको प्रॉब्लम ना हो मेरे बच्चे के साथ. So I keep my child on 100% diaper. इससे पूरी सोसाइटी को प्रॉब्लम है कि डाइपर वाला बच्चा, अरे इसने नैपी नहीं पहनी है तो ये माँ तो बिल्कुल केयरलेस है. I wanted to go for a fellowship of laparoscopy. I wanted to study further. वो तब मेरे को करना था जब मेरी बेटी 4.5 months की थी. I know मेरे को कितना मुश्किल हुआ लोगों को कन्विंस करने के लिए कि it's okay, मैं अपनी बेटी को 4.5 महीने तक ब्रेस्ट फीड करा रही हूँ, तो it is none of your business. आज भी अगर मेरी बेटी बीमार होती है, हर आदमी का सब सिंपल एक क्वेश्चन बात होती है, तूने 2 साल तक फीड नहीं कराया ना इसलिए. मतलब I don't know why society कुछ नहीं है तो I have a girl, I have a daughter. Now people want me to have another child and it has to be a boy. Excuse me, who are you? You're getting it? So I don't know, people around you take a pre-notion लेके चलते हैं कि ऐसे ऐसे होना चाहिए. वो अपनी लाइफ के साथ साथ दूसरे की लाइफ को भी मैनिपुलेट करते हैं, मतलब वो उसको ड्राइव करना चाहते हैं. और अगर आप उस पे नहीं चले हो तो आप सबसे बड़ी गलत हो. जैसे कि मेरी फैमिली में लेट मैरिज, 28 years पे मैरिज मेरे ख्याल से मेरे बाद ना पहले ना बाद में किसी की हुई है हमारे जो इमीडिएट कजिन्स में. सेकेंडली, लड़कियां इतना पढ़ने की क्या जरूरत है, 100 रुपए के लिए बैठ जाते हो, 100 रुपए कमाते हो एक उसके लिए. मुझसे गड्डी ले ले, तुझे पैसे चाहिए गड्डी ले ले, है ना. अब थर्ड थिंग आफ्टर मैरिज, I'm a gynecologist. मेरा काम 24/7 का होता है. Mostly deliveries लोगों को labor pains रात को ही आते हैं. It is so hard to convince your father-in-law, mother-in-law, या anyone कि मैं रात को 2 बजे, 2:30 बजे, 3 बजे उठ के जाऊंगी. There has been days when my husband used to go with me to the hospitals and he used to stand outside. I used to operate and we used to come back. Then there were times when I used to go alone, but it has been, we are married since 7 years. 7 years तक कोई husband नहीं करता है. So I have managed कि अपने security guard को लेके I तो just run. बेटी को मैंने set कर दिया है मतलब, but it is very hard for a woman to. I don't understand. वही what Chandni said कि गर्ल्स की लाइफ में ही इतना हार्ड क्यों हो जाता है. मतलब मेरी बेटी 1.5 years की हो गई है और मेरे इस साइड मतलब मेरे इन लॉज की साइड में सिर्फ मेरे अलावा किसी ने आज तक उसको नहलाया नहीं है. सी द डिफरेंस. मतलब 1.5 साल में सिर्फ मैंने नहलाया. जिस दिन मैं अगर फुल डे जॉब पे चलेगी तो मेरी बेटी नहाई नहीं है. सो दिस इज, I don't know, girls have to take the matlab I am doing everything. I am working, I'm doing big surgeries. Matlab I learned big surgeries, I'm doing surgeries, and I am an well established woman. I like my profession, I love to operate, but still mother bhi main hi hu. Matlab why can't boys do it? Why can't everyone understand, society understand ki they need to help me, they should be proud of me. They are proud of me, but they want me to do everything. I have to be perfect in everything, and that is so bad. That is okay. We have to live with it.
The permutation combination of identities is never allowed. या तो आप बहुत ही successful student बन जाओ या फिर successful wife बन जाओ, लेकिन if you think कि नहीं, maybe I can manage both and I can't be a superhuman being, you know, I will might dilute my duties somewhere, but that privilege, that cushioning is not provided to women. I absolutely agree, but Priya, honestly, your journey has been inspiring for a lot of women, specifically for women who want to find their own and who want to really fight against all odds to make sure that they have an identity of their own, which is beyond the suffixes attached to a woman. Thank you. Chandni, can we move to you, please?
Yeah, so again, for me, I think the setback has been, there's nothing worse than losing sense of self. And that is when you're very unsure about your own self. You don't know what you're doing is, whether it's right or not. You're second guessing yourself at every moment. Nothing can be worse than that. And for me, the setback has been in that sense. When, you've lost sense of self and you've sort of questioned your ambitions, you've questioned everything around you, that, whether what you want is right or wrong, because you're conditioned continuously by everybody in your environment. The conditioning is different before you're married. The conditioning is different after you're married. The conditioning from the society at large is different. So there are so many notions fed into you that there's very little room left for your own ideas to surface. And that has been a setback. And as somebody who's creatively inclined, unless and until your work is validated by people, it really means nothing. So if I write something, if it's not validated, if I don't put it out, it really means nothing. It's just a private journal then, nothing more. And the setback therein lies in the fact that for the longest time, I've deferred from putting my work out for the fear of being politically incorrect. There are so many pieces I could have put out. There are so many pieces on various subjects that I've written at length, and I'm proud of those articles or poetry or whatever, but I haven't put that compositions out just because I feel I've been slightly politically incorrect in that, and that could land me in some sort of trouble, or that could be misconstrued in some way, and that's the reason I didn't put them out. Also, for the longest time, what's happened is that when you shift your base and when you shift identity, so to say, you do leave behind your own. Your friends are no longer just your own. You have to imbibe new friends in your life, and to find that balance is a precarious situation, because you're constantly juggling between finding new friends and giving them your all, finding new family, giving them your all. You're not just a daughter, you're not just a sister to your cousins, you're also somebody else's aunt, you're also somebody else's cousin now. So to find that balance has been difficult, and to really understand where your priorities lie have been difficult. My friends for the longest time kept telling me that we don't associate with you anymore. You've changed as a person. We don't know who you are. You talk differently, you dress differently, and your views are different. So to have that sense of disassociation was not easy. And as And it's not something you can talk about to everybody because they judge you at a superficial level. They don't really understand what you're going through at all times. They'll probably meet you socially, they'll assess your situation from the outside, and they won't know the turmoil you're going within. And so it's not been the easiest of spaces, but I think with time what's important is to not lose sight of who you are, to not let go of people who know you well, who've been there with you through your thick and thin, and who've known you for the longest time. That is the most important part. And when you hold on to that, and when you realize that what you need to do is because you need to do it, and you don't owe an explanation to anybody for it, and as long as you're doing it with dignity and you're doing it with the right intention, you really have no business to go around proving anything to people, because nobody else's happiness should come at the cost of your own. I think it's taken me a while to realize that. And now that I have, I think I'm in a better space to manage and balance things out in a much better way than I previously could. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Chandni. Samina, can we hear from you? Were there more solidarity handshakes or more eyebrows raised?
Oh my God, one important thing that I really, learned quickly was to be prepared to deal with the uncomfortable situations that I went through, and like a lot of disapproving relatives and a lot of gossiping co-workers. But then what eventually I was able to develop was a very thick skin. I stayed close to family and friends, who supported me, and surrounded myself with people, who are more positive. And I stayed focused to staying happy. And then, the best part was, like I'd walked out of a relationship, to find happiness, and not because, I left happiness to be sad, and that's why I walked out of the relationship. No. So every time, anybody, asks me my status, and I tell them I'm a single mother, they look at you as if that, like hell has, broken on you, and, they feel sorry for you. And I'm like, I moved out of a sad situation to a happy situation. Why are you sad? I am happy, be happy for me. But then when, there are two situations. Either they assume that, the man threw you out of his life, in which case they feel sorry for you, or where you walked out of the man's life, then in that case, they label you as the super bitch, that, oh my God. And then there is a character assassination that happens on you. So I, those are the two things that I've had, but then I've stopped answering those questions. So anytime anybody asks me, what are you? I tell them, I am a happy single mother. So even before you judge me, whether I'm sad or happy or whatever it is, I let them know before you label me as a sad, depressed soul, let me know I am a happy single mother. And, I'll be very honest, I was referred to this panel by another woman. So what I was really happy about was that some other woman thought of me as a happy single mother. So that's, my sense of achievement, when I, was asked to speak in the panel.
Thank you so much, Samina. And over the years, I think feminists across the globe have reclaimed bitch and slut. You want to call us bitch and slut, we'll take it in our stride and take it as a compliment. It's no more an abuse. Thank you for calling us bitch and slut, because that means we are very well-opinionated women who are not really afraid of various hiccups that we meet our way. Ishita, can we hear your story of solidarity, handshakes, or of having grievances?
So it's very interesting. I've had solidarity also come from the most unexpected places, and eyebrows have also been raised in me from the most unexpected places. I've had my friends come and tell me, "Ki tum 30 saal ki ho gayi, shadi kyun nahi kar rahi ho tum?" And judging me, like, नहीं तुम बहुत ज़्यादा अपने काम में घुसी रहती हो. You need to, stop focusing काम पे इतना and थोड़ा सा concentrate on शादी. And then I have my 80-year-old grandpa saying कि like अगर किसी लड़के को ना समझ में नहीं आ रहा है ना कि तुम्हें काम करना पसंद है, उससे शादी करने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. So that's quite a oxymoron situation, because people would think that it's a reserve. So that's there. And from the society at large, now there's a very interesting thing I'll share. So when people go house hunting in Delhi, if you call up a landlord and you say कि I'm a lawyer and I need a place to stay, people just put the phone down. So just imagine जब लोग अपनी लड़की की शादी करवाना चाहते हैं दुनिया में, वकील लड़की की, people are like नहीं ये तो ना हो पाए. So that's what has been happening. So that's on one perspective. perspective. But even when I go to court and everything, I have seen many eyebrows being raised at me. Oh, you're the only girl in this team working. I've had CEOs of company call up my boss like, no, we want to talk to the senior person on the team. She looks like a junior. And my boss is telling him, no, she is the senior most person on the team. So it's been quite a field day catching up the raised eyebrows and like catching the solidarity. I appreciate everybody who's helped me, held my hand through tough times. And for the people who raised eyebrows, I'm like, you might need Botox after some time if you keep on raising eyebrows. That's not going to work.
I completely agree. I think one very prevalent notion in the Indian system is that a too educated girl, and especially if she's a lawyer, she's not befitting the Indian marriage scenario at all, because those other they can't be good marriage material. They are not meant for marriages. So I completely agree. Now, while the panel has been focusing on various roles which have been given them by society or by choice, I'm sure there is a learning curve that you still want to learn, still want to dwindle, still want to press upon certain areas which satiate you. They could be travel, they could be pottery, they could be, they could be art, craft. So where does the panel stand today? How are they satiating their inner child? How are they satiating their inner she? Ishita, can we start with you, please?
Okay, so the inner child in me gets satiated. I'm a foodie. I'm a diehard foodie. I love trying out new things. So the more stressed I am at work, the more exotic dishes are cooked at home. So maybe I've had a bad day at work and I'll come back home and cook chicken korma. One thing which I try to do as much as possible, I try to travel myself. Even if it's 3 days in some unknown city, that's something I do. And I'm a makeup junkie. I'm a hoarder when it comes to makeup. I love makeup. I was so happy that, oh my God, I'll speak on this panel. I'll put some makeup on today. So these are some things which I keep on doing on the side, and everybody should do it. Even if you are, wherever you are placed in life, you should have some things which are your own and for which you don't need to, give answers to anyone. So these are my 3 top things.
Thank you so much, Ishita. Chandni, can we hear it from you?
Well, I think travel is one thing which is common for all of us now. And I don't want to dwell on travel because of Corona. We are unable to travel for another year or so. So that's making me extremely sad. So I'm not going to talk about travel anymore. But apart from travel, I think I love my downtime. When I'm just on my own, it could be just, loitering through the mall, just having a meal by myself, which again is a challenge because in a place like Agra, if you're spotted alone having a meal, they'll bracket you as somebody who's depressed or who's lost her mind. And that's not the case. I love enjoying a meal by my own self. I love going out, having a meal to my own self and just sitting and thinking and having that me time and downtime. So that for me is therapy, just being on my own and everything. And also one thing that really works for me is that, whenever I hit rock bottom, I think we all have that one friend which we can just bear our all to. So I'll just call up my best friend and we just laugh at every bloody thing we've done in our life. We'll talk about everything. We'll go through our past. We'll go through everything and we just make light of all the flaws, all the mistakes we've done or whatever it is that's happening in our life. And I think that conversation is enough to make me feel that, yeah, it's fine. We're all humans and we're all going through ups and downs and life is imperfect. But you can make light of it and you can just laugh it out and be who you are. Apart from that, I went it all in writing. I'll write the raunchiest characters. I'll write stories about antagonists. I'll write things I can't otherwise say. So I think I write with a vendetta when I'm like really angry or I'm really upset and I can't put things out which otherwise I would want to. And my best creations come out of that zone when I'm like really upset and when I'm really like perturbed by what's happening around. So yeah, those are some things that I do.
Annie, I'm waiting for your book now. I really am. Having known you in school, I am.
Thank you so much, Chandni. And I absolutely agree that you need to have at least, certain pack of friends who are right there standing next to you. Like the other day, I was discussing with one of my friends that, economy is going to take a toll and we had so many plans planned for 2020 on investments, on travel or wherever there will be a purchasing power depletion in our lives. And this friend of mine, it was a very rant discussion. It was a heavy discussion. And her only contribution to the entire discussion was, yeah, I know bras are going to go so expensive, right? serious. What am I discussing here? And all you are concerned about is our bras are going to become expensive. Who can ease the situation and tell you that, what, you'll sail through this. Priya, can we hear it from you?
See, my go-to thing is surgery. I तो just love to operate. I don't know, मतलब मैं कोई वो लग रही होगी कि butcher type. I am not a butcher. I always wanted to be a surgeon. I have done skydiving. I felt that adrenaline rush, but that is nowhere close to operating. Even exactly. I try to pick up all the most complicated cases I can, and I try to operate. And second thing is, I like to take my daughter on a drive. Since she's so small, she's a one-way listener. I can tell her every damn thing. And we just have music and we dance, and this is my go-to thing. So that's it. I like to operate.
That is really important. Sir, the other day I was reading somewhere that you need 3 areas to satiate your financial independence. And when 2 of them combine together, then you don't need the third. That is when your passion really becomes the source of your income, then you don't really need the third. So absolutely, Priya, in your case, if your passion has become the source,
it works for me.
The downtime. Thank you so much for sharing. Samina, can we move to you, please?
My go-to obviously is my daughter. So the couple of years that I lost, I'm trying to relive those years, go back to those years, whatever I couldn't do, whatever I missed doing. So I've been doing all of that with my daughter. Yes, because of Corona now that's been put on hold. But then, yes, I go out with her. We go, we do a lot of window shopping. She doesn't understand anything, but then I still, seek her advice. And, anytime I want to pick up any dress, even though I've already, made up my mind that this is what I want to pick up. But then, I just go back to her and ask her, how is this looking on me? Because I know, whatever, even if I pick up the shittiest thing from the rack, she's going to say it is too good and you look the prettiest, and she'll keep complimenting. So, that's my, go-to, she's my go-to. And that's what I do all day, and then, yes, I love to cook for her. So anything that, involves her, revolves around her. So that is what I just love doing.
Thank you so much, Samina. It is so important to really cultivate these strong bonds between the child and the parent so that the future generation that we are looking at least learns from our journey and doesn't commit the same mistakes that we have done. So coming to mistakes, I'm sure it was not all pink and flowery and glory in your own journeys. I'm sure there were setbacks. I'm sure if given a second chance, not negating the fact that wherever we are today are because of persecutions, are because of setbacks, are because of sufferings that we have achieved, and we have always taken it in our own stride. But if given a chance to redo that one episode in your life, which you could redo, would you have one? Samina, can we start with you?
I'm happy that I have a, girl. One, I always wanted a girl child, honestly, I was never keen on, a male child. Reason being, again, I come from an Orthodox Muslim family, which is predominantly a male-dominated society. So I was already, kind of disappointed with the gender, even before I got married. And then, that disappointed got confirmed. So so for a very long time, the reason I married late is I never wanted to marry. And yes, because until you're in school, you really don't know gender. You don't really think about gender. But the minute your family starts looking out for a match for you, you should know how to cook. You should know how to do this. You shouldn't be sleeping till late. You should be waking up. Suddenly the world changes for you. The rules change for you. So until 35, I kept pushing, I didn't want to marry. But then, because that's how you're trained and that's how, you grow up to be, you grow up to always give in. Like a woman always grows up to give in. So I was also, because I now feel I'm an abnormal woman because I've stopped giving in. So then I was a normal woman and I gave in to whatever, my family said then, and I decided to marry, and I agreed to marry. And yes, if given a chance, I would want to unwind that and, not marry. But then, yes, I have a child now, especially a girl child. So I am more than happy that, that my partner now is, is the partner that I always wanted. Like, I have another woman in my life.
Thank you so much, Samina. Ishita, can we move to you, please?
Yes. So in terms of setback, I think one major setback which I faced was I was engaged in January 2019 to somebody who knew me from before for a long time, and he knew how I work. I'm a lawyer, I have bad timings and everything. And suddenly after the engagement, there was this expectation that I need to come back home at 6 p.m. every day. And because of that, there were a lot of fights, there were a lot of issues that were happening. And despite of the fact that I would make sure that we have dinner together. He would come from his place, I would come from my office, and I'd make sure that we have dinner together. But I tolerated a lot of nonsense from him for those couple of months while we were engaged, that entire time. And the setback for me was like, I called it off. It was borderline abusive, and I tolerated that. I don't think so I should have tolerated that. The first day he called me out for working too late and like, to make kya zarurat, I should have just said, okay, I can't go ahead with this. You knew me from before. If you're questioning me now because you're my fiance and you have those rights over me, no, that's not happening. So that heartache I could have avoided.
Why didn't you give him a brief, Ishita? You should have given him a brief and a fee attached to it, that this is the brief. You have follow-up questions. I'm going to charge you extra by the hour. You should have handed him over your brief.
No, he was not even worth engaging. I had his mom calling me up and telling me, अच्छा हुआ तुमने सगाई तोड़ दी, हम अपने बेटे को ऐसी लाइफ नहीं देना चाहते थे. I'm like, okay, auntie. Yeah.
This Raja doesn't go away from India at all. 2020 also, we are so fascinated by the fact that we are giving birth to boys, and we have boys, and that they are the people who are going to take our legacy and karta forward. So that is not going anywhere.
It's terrible.
Thank you so much, Ishita. Chandni, can we move to you, please?
In terms of setback, well, I really don't know if I can call it a setback or not, because so basically I got placed with Google right after college and everything, and because Indian Punjabi mothers are obsessed with getting their daughters married, so was mine. And she asked me to drop that, and she was like, they're expecting you to sign a bond for 2.5 years, so you'll be tied to them, and then you have to shift base, and they'll place you in Hyderabad or where not. And I don't want you working shifts from 9 to 5. The people you know will be just your office people, and I want your circle to grow, and I want you to be socially more aware and everything. So she asked me to drop it, and I can't. It's not fair for me to put the blame on her, because had I known better, was I clear in my priorities at that time, I would have chosen differently. So in hindsight, I don't know where life would have taken me had I chosen that over coming back to Agra. So I really don't know if it was a setback or not. It's too early to tell. But yeah, I think I moved forward after that. And the only setback for me would be that every moment, every choice that was based not on me, but keeping somebody else in mind, that moment has been a setback. That shouldn't have been. And I try not doing that now. I keep myself in the focus. Because after all, this is the longest relationship I'll have. Nobody else is going to stand by me but myself. So I try and keep the focus primarily on me, and every choice made otherwise has been a setback, and I'm trying to set that right now.
Very well said, Chandni. Thank you so much. Dr. Priya, can we move to you, please?
The only setback, actually, I think मैंने अपनी life में और किसी की सुनी नहीं है अपने अलावा. सिर्फ एक time सुनी है. I wanted to be a doctor because I lost my father. Right? I wanted to be a heart surgeon, and it was always like, obviously, padho and you get the seat and you become a doctor, right? So I scored a good rank, and I was getting the first seat of cardiac surgery. So I was surgery की मुझको first seat मिल रही थी, but I got influenced by people around me, my very close ones, my family people, जिन्होंने they made it a point कि मेरी काउंसलिंग से जो हमारी सीट पिक करने वाली काउंसलिंग से पहले दे मेड मी इट अ पॉइंट कि मेरे को कार्डियक सर्जन्स पे ले गए कि इस लड़की को समझाओ कि इट इज नॉट अ गुड थिंग फॉर अ गर्ल्स कांट बी अ कार्डियक सर्जन. भैया वो क्यों चाहेंगे, वो अपना कंपटीशन क्यों चाहेंगे? एंड नहीं होती तो नहीं होती, मतलब आई बिकेम अ डॉक्टर फॉर अ रीजन, एंड वो रीजन चेंज हो गया. नाउ आई एम अ गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट, आई एम डूइंग सर्जरीज, बट स्टिल वो satisfaction जो होना चाहिए था वो अभी भी lacking है. शायद if I am reborn, मैं अगली बार 100% cardiac surgeon बनने वाली हूँ. So
Thank you so
this
much,
is the
Priya.
only thing I would change.
You brought in a very interesting point to the forum, which is of traditional sectors and non-traditional sectors for women. And specifically, why representation of women is required in non-traditional sectors is to change the stereotypes. We need women in the manufacturing sector. We need women in the construction sector. We just don't need women who are academicians or who are into HR or who are into advisory. We need women authors. We need women to be best-selling authors and not the authors that who write rom-coms. So it is very important that women have equal representation, specifically in the non-traditional sectors. So thank you for bringing that to the forum. Now moving to the fun but yet introspective question that now that we are in our late 20s and early 30s, but what is the advice that you would go and give to your 17-year-old young self to pick her up, to tell her that it's going to be an okay ride, or any advice that you would want to tell her to take it easy? Chandni, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, I think I would just tell her that you're too cool just the way you are. Don't let adults fool you into believing that it's imperative to change. It's not. You have the right ideas about life. You're a badass and remain like that. You don't have to be subservient to people, and the kind of ideas you have, the kind of passion you have, don't let that dim by let others telling you that it's imperative to adjust. It's not. It's overhyped.
Thank you, Chandni. Can we hear it from you, Ishita?
So one thing which I would, two things actually I'll tell my younger self. You don't need to give anybody justifications and you don't owe anybody any explanation. So most of my adult life, I've been given people justifications and explanations. Now, in hindsight, I would not want to do that. And the second thing, while human beings, we are social creatures and we have to live in the society, nobody should conform to anything which makes them uncomfortable. We have to conform to some societal standards, but don't conform to that standard which will make you unhappy or uncomfortable.
Absolutely, Ishita. Samina, can we move to you, please?
Yes. You know, the only thing that I would tell myself is do whatever makes you happy. Whatever drives that respect in you, assures that dignity in you. Do everything to keep you happy, and don't give in or just to satisfy somebody else's happiness at the cost of your own happiness. Never. I wouldn't ever, because I did that mistake, just to satisfy few people in my family. I put my happiness at stake. I wouldn't suggest that to anybody, not to myself ever again. That so now, even if it is stepping out late at night, if it makes me happy, I am going to do it. If I want to date 10 men, and if it makes me happy, I am going to do it. Whatever makes me happy.
Thank you, Samina. Priya, can we move to you, please?
I will tell two things to 17-year-old myself. One thing is live in the moment, and because life is very unpredictable. I was becoming a biotech student. I turned to be a doctor after I lost my father. In the matter of few hours, I lost my father. My life changed. Pure 5 saal MBBS, I was becoming a heart surgeon. Suddenly, I became a gynecologist. फिर कुछ होता है, and suddenly I always said I will be an IVF specialist. I turned to be a laparoscopic surgeon. So just live in the moment, live your life. बिल्कुल अभी जीना है, अभी live each day one time, right? Second thing, you need to be financially independent. I don't know. I will teach myself. I have to be financially independent because एक time आता है, you need to be independent. And when you are आपकी पॉकेट स्ट्रांग होती है ना, यू डोंट नीड टू सी, जब शॉपिंग पे जाओ और आप लेबल देखे बिना शॉपिंग करो तो उसका मजा अलग होता है, एंड उसके लिए आपको 17 years से स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा. So these two things I will tell myself for sure.
That's absolutely true. I really can't press upon and impress upon the quality of financial autonomy, specifically in women. It is extremely important. Money is power. Money helps you see a lot of things. Money helps you to even walk out of an abusive marriage. I'm sure even in Samina's case, it was her education. Yeah, she will be able to provide for her own self and her daughter that made her move out of the marriage. Sometimes women are not able to move out of toxic relationship because how are you sustaining yourself? At least at the end of the day, you can't go and live in a jhopadpatti, right? You have to sustain.
Exactly.
And that kind of sustainability only will come once we have that financial autonomy. So I really can't impress upon it further that how important is financial autonomy. Now we come to the last part of the panel, which is an open house. The attendees can either ask their questions to the panel, either by using the chat box, which is available. We will be more than happy if you want to personally ask the question to the entire panel or one panelist per se. We already have certain questions for specific panel, which I will shoot to them right away. We have one for you, Chandni, which is, wasn't finding your own self while traveling many paths, it's exhausting?
It most definitely is. Because, you know, there are days when you want to wake up and you just want to fulfill one role. There are days I want to wake up and just be a daughter and just focus on my parents and nothing else. But is that possible? No. I have to honor the bonds I have carefully chosen for myself. And it takes time, it takes perseverance, it takes a lot of patience. But you learn to balance things out. And I think something that I've learned along the way is it's very important to prioritize. If there is a certain relationship which is not on your priority and is making your life toxic, you have to own that up and you have to be bold enough to step away from it the way Samina did. But if it is in your priority list and if you feel that brings you happiness, so then you have to do whatever it is in your stride to make it work and to balance your life around it. And it's no point cribbing about it all the way. So it's been exhausting, yes, but then it's a different high when you balance it correctly, because I really feel women can multitask and it's very rewarding when you do that. Having said that, it shouldn't be a mandate for everybody, because there are some of us who can multitask and there are some who cannot. And while we are at the topic of hustling identities and while we are talking about how women can have it all, there are some of us who really choose not to have it all and who choose one role and are good at that. And when they see women around them juggling different identities and being the best at everything they do feel left out. I know of friends, I know of people who do feel left out somewhere because they've just boxed themselves in one particular role and probably that works for them. So as long as we're not making it a mandate for everybody, I think it's fine. It's exhausting, but if you feel you've prioritized every relationship in your life and you want it all, then you have to work hard at it.
Thank you, Chandni. Samina, we have a question for you that when your daughter asks about her father, how do you address that question? I mean, I know it's a very sensitive question, so I'm okay if you want to answer it. Or
No, like, these questions have come to me every now and then, and I've kind of become a pro in answering them. So, because, the minute you decide to walk out of a relationship, be prepared that, you'll get a lot of questions. So there'll be no answers or solutions thrown to you. There'll only be questions thrown to you. So again, like as I said, I've become thick-skinned. So, I've kind of now mastered the art of giving answers to those questions. I always believe that your child, may see dad all the time, or dad may be out of the picture, or anything in between. So, so it's up to you, of course, to make your child feel loved no matter what life situation may be. So, so a well-balanced child, tends to be raised by at least one alternative parent or a guardian, who can, mediate stress and not play the role of a victim. So I keep, telling my girl that, she did nothing wrong, to cause the separation, because I don't want her to live with this burden that, oh, because of me, my mom had to step out. No, I didn't step out because of her. I stepped out because I wasn't happy. Okay. So and then, yes, at this point in time, because she's, too young, she doesn't need to know the reason why the separation occurred, especially at her age. Yes, when the time is right, even before I tell her, she will know, and I will let her make that decision. And, I wouldn't want to decide on her behalf, like, how, I let everybody decide on my behalf. But, what she needs to know is that, she's loved unconditionally. So, so the essence of a good parent is putting your own needs first, keeping yourself happy and as stress-free as possible, so that you could, you can give your child a wonderful childhood, he or she deserves, because they come into this world, and they know nothing. So, they don't deserve to go through, all the trauma. So as a single mom, I am happy juggling a lot and, working long hours. Yes, it does cost my girl a little, but, what she gets in return is a mother who is, always energized and, is content now.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Amina. Priya, we have a question for you that being a gynecologist and a mother of a girl child, how do you deal with the toxic male child fascination of Indian families?
This is so sad. This is very, very bad situation. Actually, see what happens with the society, वो society का है. अपना हमारा सबका thought अलग है. Like मेरे husband और मेरा तो बिल्कुल, we are very cool to have. We just, मतलब, when a mother and a father have a child, they don't see that it's a girl or a boy. When my daughter comes to me, आज तक मुझे ये नहीं लगा कि अरे मेरी लड़की आ रही है या मेरा लड़का आ रहा है. वो मेरा एक बच्चा आता है मेरे पास जो कि बहुत इनोसेंट है. वो आता है, मुझे हक करता है और मुझे उसको देखते ही लगता है इसे क्या करना चाहिए, डायपर बदलूं, खाना खिलाऊं. मतलब आई सी ए चाइल्ड इन हर. इट इज, जेंडर नहीं दिखता है, पेरेंट्स को तो नहीं दिखता है, जेंडर दिखता है आसपास वालों को. इट स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम योर इन लॉज, योर सिस्टर इन लॉ, सबको जेंडर दिखता है, बट पेरेंट्स को कभी नहीं दिखता है. एंड इट इज सो सैड. लोग कहते हैं, मतलब अभी भी यू विल मीट पीपल हु विल से कि मुझे गर्ल चाहिए, गर्ल चाहिए. बट एज अ गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट आई एम सेइंग, मैं मेडिकल कॉलेज में थी, वो अनएजुकेटेड पीपल, व्हेन अनएजुकेटेड पीपल यूज्ड टू से लल्लू चाहिए, तो चल फिर भी समझ आता था कि उनको लड़का चाहिए. Now I'm working in a corporate hospital. उसमें हर अच्छे से अच्छा वेल पेइंग, अच्छा प्रिविलेज क्लास के लोग आते हैं एंड उनका स्कैन लेके आते हैं, मैडम लड़का है कि लड़की. एंड आई एम लाइक, आई डोंट नो, वील जब होगा पता चलेगा. एंड द मोमेंट यू से कि लड़की है, उनका फेस ड्रॉप हो जाता है. आई कुड सी टीयर्स इन देयर आईज. मतलब द मोमेंट, आज भी अगर मेरे को पता है कि किसी का बेटा हुआ है तो मेरे को लड्डू मिलेगा, एक मिठाई का डब्बा तो मेरे स्टाफ पूरा खाएगा. अगर लड़की हुई है तो इट इज नो पॉइंट. हमने आज तक नहीं खाया वो लड्डू एक लड़की होने पर, हम क्या बोले. So this is, society at large is so sad. But I will definitely say parents कभी भी boy और girl नहीं देखते, उनको वो अपना बच्चा दिखता है. So for me having a daughter, I am very happy. She's a very beautiful girl and she's very sweet. I don't mind. My sibling is also my sibling is a sister. I have an elder sister. So मेरे को तो बहुत मजा आया. We had so much fun. मतलब आई डोंट नो कि बॉयज का रिलेशन कैसा होता है, गर्ल्स का आपस में सिस्टर्स अच्छा रिलेशन किसी का नहीं होता है. सो आई डोंट माइंड हैविंग अनदर डॉटर, सी, बट सोसाइटी हैज टू लर्न समथिंग. दे डोंट माइंड, मैंने जैसे बोला भी था कि दे डोंट माइंड हैविंग 100 कौरव होते ना, गंधारी के 100 कौरव थे, चाहे वो कितने भी खराब थे बट वो 100 थे. they don't mind having 100 bad boys, but they mind having 2 good girls. I don't understand why. And you might be thinking कि मैं ऐसे ही बोल रही हूँ. I am just, मैं रोज के इतने पेशेंट देखती हूँ और मैं उनका रिएक्शंस देखती हूँ. I am telling you the hard fact reality जो अभी भी सोसाइटी में है. May it be the high class, may it be the low class, सब एक ही बात सोचते हैं, but parents नहीं सोचते हैं.
Thank you so much, Priya. And we have one question for you, Ishita, which is that despite law always talking about equality, right to equality is a constitutional right, and gender parity is always advocated in the purview of right to equality, but law also succumbs to gender stereotypes. For a very small example, right now the Supreme Court bench, out of 34 judges, only 3 are women, which is not even close to 8%. So where do you see, how do you battle with these stereotypes even in the profession, which actually is built on the foundation of equality of everybody?
So there's one thing, as lawyers we're taught how to compartmentalize ourselves. So we have the best of lawyers arguing in courts about gender equality and rights for women. But those lawyers, when they come back to their chambers, they treat the the women working in the chambers as a showpiece. Oh, she's here to, add that glamour question to my chamber. And that's really sad. So lawyers do compartmentalize. Now, if we go back, it's like what the situation is today, historically speaking, and this is something which I've heard from personal account. My grandmom wanted to do law from Agra University. and her dad, she was a topper. She was a topper of Agra University in MA English, but her dad did not let her do law because for two reasons. कि शाम की classes होती है, शाम की classes में हम अपनी लड़की को नहीं भेज सकते हैं. प्लस कोर्ट जाओगे, दिन भर धक्का खाओगे, मर्दों के साथ काम करोगे, अच्छे घर की लड़की नहीं, तुम्हें कुछ भी और करना है तुम वो कर लो. So now with that mindset, very few women of my grandmom's generation and a generation older than my mom, like the 60-year-old age group, got into the profession. And that's why there are very few women who are there as senior role models. Because there were very few women at that position, younger women had very few role models to look up to and for them to be guided. I once had an internship in Agra and I was asked, what do you want to do ahead? I was in my first year and I said, I want to litigate. And the gentleman told me कि litigation लड़कियों के बस की बात नहीं होती है, तुम तो किसी बैंक या corporate में जाओ. So when you did not have that many women helping other women in the profession, that balance, if there was a constant sense of disbalance when it comes to gender, when it comes to the gender equality, and that is something now which every female lawyer is trying to remedy, something which I try to remedy. I'm pretty young, but I try to remedy. Whenever I have girl interns, whenever I have girls working with me as interns, I try to push them forward. I don't discourage them. I tell them, like, if they're late hours, I will drop you back home. I'm not going to let you stop working in a case just because you're a girl and you cannot put in those hours. So that is something which we are all trying to work on, and I'm hoping there will be a change. But there's also one major issue that we face is in terms of networking. If I network in India as a woman, I network how a man does in the profession, my character would be assassinated. And it has been assassinated so many times. So women find that roadblock that, oh God, this is a profession where interpersonal relations are very important, where networking is very important. So women find that it's a major roadblock. आज की डेट पे भी अगर आप आगरा ट्रायल कोर्ट में जाओगे, आपको you won't get more than 2-3 women practicing on the criminal side. So that's something which my profession as a whole really needs to remedy. And we're all the women at least are working towards it, and we have some supporters in the allies, the male allies as we call them.
Absolutely agree, Ishita, because many a times, even out of turn, when an associate is promoted to a senior associate, the first impression of it is that she must have slept her way through, or she must have harassed the partner in a beneficial way, or her father must be getting a big client to the firm. It is never on merit. It is never on merit because surprisingly, women, specifically in litigation, cannot really prove their mettle. So I absolutely agree with your stance. Chandni, we have a question for you that is staying in Agra, being in Agra, a handicap, Agra being a small town, a provincial town to Delhi, is it a handicap for a woman's ambitions?
It most definitely is. I'd be lying if I say that it isn't. It is, but what's refreshing is that in recent times, a lot of women, especially in Agra, they are pushing the envelope and they are doing the best they can in their sphere of work. And I'm proud to know most of them very closely. And there is that also. But there are certain fields of expertise. For example, say if there's a person who's majored in PR or has to work at a corporate setup. So we don't have a corporate industry in Agra. So there is no way you can find work there. So unless and until you have enough revenue to open your own business, or your field of interest is something that you can freelance and probably venture into a business startup eventually, there isn't enough scope for that in Agra. Having said that, and at the risk of sounding self-contradictory, I just read a quote recently which says that if you want to do something, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So I've just etched that in my heart, and I'm trying not to use Agra as a small city as a handicap to not be able to do what I really want to do. But that doesn't mean the handicap doesn't exist. It most definitely exists. There are lack of opportunities. There is a lack of infrastructure. There is a lack of exposure. But many women are proving us otherwise, and I'm proud of them, and I hope to be a part of that soon.
Thank you, Chandni, and absolutely agree. Because, even during the COVID, there was so much of talking around how it is going to take away professions, but there were people who overnight changed their product portfolio, who overnight changed their services and brought them to digital media, who started doing a lot of work on digital media and understanding that if I have an ambition to do something, I will find a way out. And the external circumstances can never have the better of me. Priya, we have a question for you that you mentioned that how you and your sister both support your mother. And in an Indian family setup, this is not it's not a very well understood route that a daughter specifically, and that is why a male child fascination is so strong, that daughters don't support their parents. How did you deal with it? And specifically in your case, I mean, in today's generation, I'm talking about kids of the 2000s, I can understand, but the kids of the 80s and the kids of the 90s, it was very much going against a stereotype. So how did you and your sister sail through it, that no matter what happens, you're going to support your mother?
Actually, society is secondary. मेरी खुद की मम्मा doesn't accept it कि मेरी daughters के पैसे मैं use करूँ या ऐसा कुछ हो. So that actually we are blessed to have a very good parental family. I have 2 of my chachas and chachis, and they just treat my mother as their own mother. So they take good care of her. The part I and my sister we play is of emotional support. See, daughters जो होती हैं वो माँ को समझती हैं, वो उनको माँ की हार्ट बीट सुनाई देती है, आप समझ रहे हो? So we give emotional support. When I was studying, doing my MS, I got married to my husband, and मैं 2 years उसके बाद वहाँ पढ़ रही थी. तो जब मेरे को पता होता था ना कि Mama is not feeling well, I used to call my husband, and he used to be with my mom within 5 minutes. My sister makes it a point कि वो रोज आधा पौना घंटा मम्मा को कॉल करे. My chacha takes care of everything, all of her daily needs. But मम्मा का एक फोन आता है ना, like yes, मतलब मम्मा का एक फोन अगर मेरे पास आया कि प्रिया मेरे बाल लंबे हो गए हैं, you can't imagine. मेरे को 2 दिन, it took me 2 days because I have to set everything, my job and my daughter, and then I have to take out time and take her to the shop. So वो 2 दिन मुझे बस यही लग रहा था. मैंने अपने हस्बैंड को 3 बार बोला, यार मेरी मम्मा के बाल कटने हैं, यार मेरी मम्मा के बाल. डॉटर्स का जो कनेक्शन होता है ना, दैट इज irreplaceable. जैसे मेरी मम्मा needs a medicine, मतलब मुझे पता है she is not well, and मेरे पास वैसे बहुत MRs आते हैं, they give me medicines. I have medicines in my chamber. I make it a point कि मैं उनको pass on कर दूं. नहीं भी होता है ना, so I try to give my little bit कि मैं ना अपनी वहां से मतलब फार्मेसी से मेडिसिन खरीदती हूँ, एंड आई टेल माय मॉम, मम्मा ये एमआर ने दिया है, ये आपकी थायराइड खत्म होने वाली होगी, ये वो है. अच्छा मम्मा ये एमआर की फैसिलिटी है, ये मेरे को पैथोलॉजी वाले दे रहे हैं, आज आपके ब्लड टेस्ट होंगे सारे. सो वी ट्राई, बिकॉज मेरी मम्मा इज अभी भी वैसी है ऑर्थोडॉक्स थिंकिंग वाली कि बेटी का नहीं करना है. सो छोटी छोटी चीजें, जैसे माई सिस्टर ऑलवेज कॉल्स हर, मम्मा मेरे बच्चे बहुत छोटे हैं, मेरे बच्चे अभी हुए हैं, हु विल टेक केयर ऑफ देम, आई हैव टू गो टू जॉब. तो वो शी मेक्स इट अ पॉइंट कि वो शी लिव्स इन न्यूयॉर्क, तो वो 5-6 महीने उनको यूएस बुला लेती है, एंड शी मेक्स इट अ पॉइंट, उन्होंने वर्ल्ड उसको पूरा यूएस दिखाया है, जो भी है. सो जितनी देर वो उसके पास रहती है, आई नो शी इज एब्सोल्युटली फाइन. जितनी देर वो इंडिया रहती हैं, शी इज विद चाचा एंड शी इज वेरी हैप्पी. बट आई मेक इट अ पॉइंट कि आई कॉल हर, एंड अगर कुछ भी उनके मुंह से निकला, इट हैज टू बी डन. सो आई थिंक आई एम प्लेइंग माय रोल लाइक दिस. मुझे पता है कि शी इज देयर, आई एम देयर फॉर हर. एंड मैंने अपने हस्बैंड को भी बोला था, he is my school friend actually, we had a school time love story, and I told him after I lost my dad that अगर तू आगरा में नहीं रह रहा होता ना, then I wouldn't have married you, because I promised my dad I will take care of my mother. So I would definitely not have married him. And this is what daughters do for their mothers. I don't know sons karte hain ki nahi karte hain. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Ishita, we have a question for you that because you come from a hardcore litigation corporate setup, you must have either witnessed or been a party to sexist remarks. And in that view, what do? You ignore them as noise, or you take them up front?
So I pick my own battles. It's really exhausted. Every once a week I hear something which really annoys me. So I've decided to pick my battles. Some remarks are just not worth responding to. Some have to be addressed. And at some places where you have to show people the place that they don't matter. Their voice does not matter. So they should keep their opinions to themselves. So it's something which I really now started. Earlier I would be like, "Ha, lal jhanda leke," answering everybody. But now I would pick my battles, because you can't fight with everyone. It's just not worth it. It's exhausting. But somebody who really needs to be told that, okay, back off, there I step in.
Thank you, Ishita. Samina, we have a question for you that where do you draw a line over making a marriage work and calling out the marriage? Where is the thin line?
See, when a woman decides to get married, she doesn't decide to marry because, after some few years, she's going to walk out of it. Every woman who decides to marry, with the understanding that, I'm going to make it, and, it'll be like, you're, happily ever after. That's the one line that you read in all the fairy tale stories. And, women have lived with these fairy tale stories. So, I was a normal woman. Even I read those stories. So when I got married, so my understanding was, I'm going to make it, and it'll be, it'll last forever. And I did everything in my capacity to, to make it like that. But where I was trying to make, like how Chandni said, you're trying to make everybody happy. But then there comes a point, where in the effort of making everybody happy, what you're doing to yourself is, you've completely overlooked yourself, and you're becoming a sad soul, you're becoming a depressed soul. And then there's a point where you tell yourself, is this happiness that I'm giving to everybody, is it worth it? Because eventually it's all pretend play that I'm doing. And I was done with doing a lot of pretend play. And I felt that I was it wasn't me. I wasn't being real, I wasn't being honest. It was all a fake game that I was playing. And then eventually, when you've tried putting, so there are people whose relationship works really well, and I don't profess a single motherhood. I don't tell people, oh, just walk out of it. If you have a loving relationship, by all means go ahead, be in it. However, where a relationship takes away your happiness, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, because like, if you aren't happy, there is no way you're going to make anybody else happy. So whenever there comes a point where you feel that it's just killing your own individual self, I strongly profess, just walk out, because it's not going to survive for long.
Thank you so much, Samina. This is an open question to the panel, so anybody can take it up. It is on that why do women not support each other? Is sisterhood a farce? I mean, I'm just paraphrasing it. Why do women only stand against each other and just find ways to belittle each other? Why are we not as supportive as the male gender? So any of the panel can take it up.
Honestly, it isn't like that. It is the insecurity that we are born with. We are born with a lot of insecurity. We are born with a lot of ignorance. Like the amount of support a man gets, the amount of confidence a man gets, that is why there is so much of, that is why there's so much of confidence in a man. It takes a woman a lot of time and effort to build that confidence in her. It doesn't come automatic to us. For a man, the minute he's born, he's confident. He walks on the road in the middle of the night, he's confident. We're not confident. Try stepping out after, like, say 8 o'clock. Are you confident? No, I'm not confident. So it is because we've been always we've been subdued. We've been put behind the house. We've been told to give in. So all of those things where our confidence has taken a toll. So probably I feel that is the reason we've not come together for each other. So again, and at the same time, I feel that probably because yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Samina. If anybody else wants to chime in, Ishita?
I would like to chime in here. So what I feel is there are two reasons. One is the deep-set conditioning that all of us have, other than what Samina said, insecurities. One is the deep-set conditioning that all of us have received. At times, it also comes from a place of concern. So like my nanny, she loves me. She loves the fact that I'm doing this litigation and everything. But she also worries for me. doing litigation in a very male dominated profession, how hard it is, and how there are times when I'm disappointed, how there are times when I'm looked over just because of my gender, and she does not want me to deal with it. She does not want me to, face that harsh reality. So it comes from a place of concern. So that's a mix. And we need to, as women of our generation, we need to assure our older generation that we are up for it, because if we don't do it, then nobody would be there for our daughters, our younger sisters, our nieces. So we have to do it.
Chandni, want to chime in?
Yeah, I think I'm more in agreement with what Samina had to say. More often than not, what happens is, Pallavi, that apart from feminism, we have to understand that it doesn't just trickle down to feminism. There's also something known as androcentrism, which we've all grown up with. So if there's any woman who doesn't endorse androcentrism, she is looked with doubt, right? And then what happens is that you may be somebody who's willing to break the glass ceiling and who's willing to go out and make it on your own. But then there are the others who are not as confident in doing what you're doing. And then you are a threat to them in that way then. And then what's the easiest way to do? Because they don't have that kind of confidence, they'll pull you down. That's the best thing you can do. And me, for one, I have always lived my life in a very unabashed way, especially when I was in school. I've literally spoken about, my life has been more than spoken about. Things which even haven't happened have been spoken about. So, and I have never shied away from anything that's happened, because I really didn't think that there was anything wrong in what I was doing. This is my life. As long as I'm not causing harm or discomfort to anybody else, I don't have anything to hide. But more often than not, it was the women who had a say in everything I had to do. Whether it was going to tuition dressed a certain way, whether it was coming to school, wearing my hair a certain way, women and girls at large had an opinion in everything I had to say. And it stemmed from the point that they didn't have the same kind of liberty I did. Because fortunately, I've been blessed with parents who don't differentiate between genders. As Samina said, they've treated me like a human being. They brought me up as a normal human being. That do as you may, live your life with dignity, but live your life with honesty. You are answerable to yourself by the end of the day. And that's what I've continued to do till date. But I think unfortunately, most of us are not raised like that. And they feel you're a threat to them, or sometimes they want to do what you're doing and they can't, they don't have enough guts to do that. So yeah, they talk about you, they pull you down. And I've been privy to all sorts of rumors, to everything, things that haven't even happened, stereotypes, you name it, and I've been privy to all of that. Why? Because I've lived my life without apologies. So yeah, it's a sad situation, but we have to really address that, because a lot of women don't feel that they are the master of their lives. Even today, when you continue to make plans with friends, they'll put their husbands at a higher pedestal. They will want to confirm a social plan with you only after conforming with the husband. So, that sort of conditioning also, I mean, you have to move away from androcentrism and stop making a male counterpart the center point of any social system. You are equals, right? So you have equal liberty and equal voice in making a decision and living your life the way you want to.
Absolutely. Very well said, Chandni. Priya, maybe we could have you over.
I think everyone has covered all the points. I just feel it's the lack of substance in the person. Like, आपके अंदर कुछ नहीं होता है, तो you don't know what to do. You just start pulling. People have those. There are very. ये तो mentality होती है. Some people like to move up. Okay, fine. This is the person is doing this, so I can do better. Some like to pull the other person. So I don't know why this is so much in girls. Why can't they just support each other and let's make it a women-centric world?
No, you know what, Priya, like what Priya is saying, it is true. It is the substance, because, when I decided to step out of this relationship, I had a lot of women telling me that, like women my age telling me that this wasn't right. And then, like, a child needs both the parents. But then at the same time, I had my own mother who stood, next to me and who helped me take up this decision.
I think women are more emotional, shayad, isliye they think so much, but the boys are more practical. I don't know. You need to be a bit of less emotional and a bit more practical to think over situations that from a wider angle, because like Samina said, she was not in a good scenario. She needs to move, so she needs to move. And who are you to comment on that? She can take her own decisions. So I don't know. I'm sure Samina को maximum girls ने ही बोला होगा कि it's wrong. Boys ने इतना नहीं रोका होगा. I don't know. I think so.
Thank you so much, everyone. This has been a very engaging and a very well-timed, actually, a webinar. We are at 6:30, and unfortunately, will not be able to take any further questions. But the panel is marked on our social media. If you want to personally reach out to the panel for collaboration, to speak to them, to confide into them, or to rant to them, you are most welcome. And I'm sure the panel will also be more than eager to share their stories with the rest of us. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of it. And we'll see you next Sunday. And thank you, panel, for taking out time on a Sunday to speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pallavi.
Thank you. And we'll end the meeting. We'll have the meeting recorded, and we'll definitely share the link with everybody else so that we can relive the beautiful notions, the beautiful journeys that our panel has shared with us. Thank you, everybody. Please have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.